Have you ever wondered where true intelligence comes from? It's not just about how much you know or how many degrees you have, it's about how you apply knowledge to your life, how you treat others, and how well you learn from your mistakes. But here's the hard truth: not everyone is truly wise. There are clear signs that reveal when a person lacks wisdom, and the most dangerous part? They often don't even realize it. Before you dismiss this as just another judgmental list, take a moment to reflect. This isn't about criticizing others, it's about awareness and self-improvement. Because if we fail to recognize these mistakes, we might unknowingly be making them ourselves. Today, we'll explore 6 undeniable signs of a foolish person, all through the lens of Stoicism, the ancient philosophy that has helped people live wisely, powerfully, and with self-control for thousands of years. The question is, are you willing to take an honest look at yourself? Because true wisdom begins with self-awareness. If you're ready, let's dive in. Sign number 1. A closed mind. A closed mind is like a fortress of ignorance, built brick by brick with fear, pride, and stubbornness. Those who possess it reject new ideas, refuse to consider different perspectives, and remain trapped in their limited worldview. But what causes someone to have a closed mind? Often, it stems from fear of being wrong, fear of change, or an inflated sense of self-importance. While they may appear confident, their so-called certainty is just a fragile shield against the unknown. People with a closed mind exhibit distinct behaviors, including dismissing new ideas without careful consideration, becoming defensive when challenged rather than engaging in thoughtful discussion, stubbornly sticking to outdated methods despite clear evidence of better alternatives, refusing to acknowledge their ignorance, believing they already know everything. At first glance, they may seem self-assured, but in reality, they are stuck in a cycle of stagnation. Take Mark, a department manager at a company. His team was falling behind competitors, yet he refused to embrace change. When a younger employee suggested modern project management software to improve efficiency, Mark immediately dismissed it. "We've done it this way for 10 years, and it works just fine." The result? His team struggled with inefficiency while other departments advanced. He blamed external factors, his staff, the market, even luck, but never questioned his own refusal to adapt. His inflexibility ultimately damaged his career and slowed down the company's growth. A closed mind doesn't just block knowledge, it prevents progress and limits opportunities for personal and professional success. Stoicism teaches us that wisdom is not about being right all the time, but about the willingness to learn and adapt. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." A truly wise person seeks truth rather than defending their ego. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of questioning one's own beliefs. "If anyone can refute me, show me I am making a mistake, I will gladly change. For it is the truth I seek." If you recognize signs of a closed mind in yourself, don't be discouraged. Self-awareness is the first step to change. Here's how to train yourself to think openly and embrace growth. Adopt the "what if I'm wrong" mindset. Instead of immediately rejecting opposing viewpoints, pause and ask yourself, "What if I'm wrong? What can I learn from this perspective?" This doesn't mean you have to agree, it just means you're open to exploring new ideas before dismissing them. Listen more than you speak. Practice active listening. Instead of preparing your response while someone is talking, focus completely on understanding their point. Remind yourself, you don't need to win every conversation. Sometimes, just learning is enough. Seek out diverse perspectives. Read books, listen to debates, engage with people from different backgrounds and beliefs. The broader your knowledge, the less likely you are to become mentally rigid. Detach your ego from your opinions. Many people fear admitting they're wrong because they tie their identity to their beliefs. But you are not your opinions, you are the sum of your ability to learn, adapt, and grow. Challenge yourself to learn something new every day. Growth is a choice. The moment you stop learning, you start decaying. Develop a habit of daily self-reflection. What did I learn today that I didn't know before? An open mind isn't about agreeing with everything, it's about being willing to examine, explore, and evolve. A fool clings stubbornly to what they already know. A wise person embraces the journey of continuous learning. So, which one are you? Sign number 2. Failure to learn from mistakes. One of the most destructive habits a person can have is the inability to learn from mistakes. Instead of taking responsibility, they blame others, make excuses, or ignore their failures, ensuring they repeat the same errors over and over again. This mindset is a roadblock to personal growth, keeping individuals stuck in a cycle of stagnation and failure. Without self-reflection, mistakes become chains that hold people back rather than lessons that help them improve. People who fail to learn from mistakes often blame external factors instead of looking inward. Repeat the same errors because they refuse to analyze what went wrong. Avoid criticism or feedback, seeing it as a personal attack rather than an opportunity for growth. See mistakes as shameful rather than as learning experiences. This behavior isn't just frustrating, it damages relationships, careers, and personal development. Instead of growing stronger, they remain stuck. Consider Lisa, an event organizer responsible for planning a major conference. Attendance was a disaster because the event was poorly promoted. Instead of taking responsibility, Lisa blamed the marketing team for not advertising the event well enough. But when the situation was reviewed, it turned out she had failed to send the event details on time, delaying the entire marketing campaign. Even when confronted with the facts, Lisa refused to accept her role in the failure, pointing fingers and making excuses. The result? Her colleagues lost trust in her. She was eventually removed from her position. She missed a valuable opportunity to grow and improve. Her unwillingness to own her mistakes didn't just impact her career, it damaged her professional reputation and relationships. The Stoics understood that mistakes are part of life, but what separates the wise from the foolish is how they respond to failure. Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. A wise person views mistakes as feedback, not as permanent failures. They analyze what went wrong, take responsibility, and make adjustments to improve. Similarly, Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself but to your estimate of it." This means that failure is only truly harmful if you refuse to learn from it. Instead of making excuses, the Stoic approach is to ask better questions. What could I have done differently? What lesson can I take from this? How can I ensure this mistake doesn't happen again? If you recognize this pattern in yourself, don't be discouraged. Self-awareness is the first step to change. Here's how to embrace mistakes as learning opportunities. Take full responsibility. Stop blaming external factors. Even if circumstances played a role, ask yourself, what was my part in this? What could I have controlled? Growth starts with ownership, not excuses. Analyze what went wrong. After every failure, take time to reflect. What led to this outcome? Were there warning signs I ignored? What actions should I take differently next time? Writing down mistakes and lessons reinforces learning and prevents repetition. Seek feedback, not validation. Wise people invite constructive criticism instead of avoiding it. The goal is not to feel good, but to become better. Adopt a growth mindset. Understand that mistakes are not permanent, they are stepping stones to success. See every failure as an investment in your future self. Turn mistakes into new habits. Apply lessons learned immediately. If poor time management caused failure, create a new planning system. If lack of communication led to problems, schedule regular check-ins. Action is the key to real change. A foolish person sees mistakes as the end. A wise person sees mistakes as the beginning of improvement. Taking responsibility is not about blame, it's about power. When you own your failures, you gain control over your future. So ask yourself, are you learning from your mistakes? Or are you making the same ones over and over again? Choose growth, accountability, and wisdom. That is the Stoic path. Sign number 3. Reacting emotionally instead of rationally. Emotions are natural, but when they control your actions instead of logic, they can lead to bad decisions, damage relationships, and make you look weak. Stoicism teaches that true strength is not in exploding with emotions, but in mastering them. When someone reacts emotionally instead of rationally, they become a slave to their feelings. They lash out in anger, act impulsively, and later regret their actions. A person who cannot control their emotions is easily manipulated and loses the respect of others. People who react emotionally instead of rationally often get angry or defensive when challenged instead of considering the argument logically. Make impulsive decisions based on their mood rather than long-term thinking. Take criticism personally instead of using it for self-improvement. Let small inconveniences ruin their day, unable to separate their emotions from reality. Such behavior makes people unpredictable, unreliable, and difficult to trust. Instead of gaining control over situations, they become controlled by them. Consider Sarah, a talented employee in a high-pressure workplace. During a team meeting, her manager gave her constructive criticism about a recent project. Instead of listening and learning, she got defensive, raised her voice, and argued back in frustration. Her emotional reaction did not change the feedback. Instead, it damaged her reputation. Her colleagues stopped trusting her judgment because they feared her reactions. Her boss saw her as unprofessional and unable to handle pressure. Her growth stalled because she refused to learn from feedback. If she had remained calm and reflected on the feedback, she could have gained valuable insight and improved her work. Instead, her lack of emotional control held her back. Stoic philosophy teaches that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can always control how we respond. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Similarly, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself but to your estimate of it. And you have the power to revoke that at any moment." In short, we suffer more from our reactions than from the events themselves. A Stoic does not let emotions dictate their actions. They pause before reacting to assess the situation, detach their emotions from their decisions to make better choices, accept that criticism and challenges are part of life and use them for growth. If you struggle with emotional reactions, don't worry. Self-awareness is the first step to change. Here's how you can develop emotional control and respond with logic instead of feelings. Pause before reacting. Before responding to criticism, anger, or frustration, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is this reaction helpful? Will it solve the problem? Practicing delayed response helps you stay in control. Detach emotion from the situation. Don't take negative feedback personally. Instead, see it as information. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Instead of getting offended, use it as a stepping stone for growth. Practice rational thinking. Whenever you feel an emotional response, challenge it with logic. Instead of saying this is unfair, ask, Is this actually a big deal in the long run? What would a wise person do in this situation? Develop a calm mindset. Practice meditation or journaling to observe your emotions. Exercise regularly to manage stress and emotional impulses. Surround yourself with rational thinkers who encourage reason over drama. Reframe negative events. Instead of seeing problems as personal attacks, view them as challenges to overcome. Stoics believe that adversity makes us stronger. Instead of resisting hardship, embrace it as part of life's training. A weak person loses their temper, acts impulsively, and lets emotions dictate their life. A strong person remains calm, thinks rationally, and responds with wisdom. Mastering emotional control earns you respect, improves your decision-making, and leads to personal success. So ask yourself, do you control your emotions? Or do your emotions control you? Choose logic, discipline, and wisdom. That is the Stoic way. Sign number 4. Believing they are always right. Have you ever met someone who constantly tries to prove they are the smartest person in the room? No matter what the discussion is about, they insist they know better, dismiss opposing views, and refuse to admit they could be wrong. This is one of the clearest signs of ignorance, not wisdom. A truly wise person understands that learning never stops and that being wrong is part of growth. Meanwhile, a foolish person clings to their beliefs stubbornly, ignoring evidence and silencing differing opinions. A person who always thinks they are right often interrupts others because they believe their opinion is more valuable. Dismisses alternative viewpoints without genuine consideration. Becomes defensive when challenged, rather than engaging in productive discussion. Sees admitting mistakes as a weakness instead of a sign of growth. Ironically, the more they try to appear intelligent, the more they expose their intellectual insecurity. Meet Michael, a manager at a corporate firm. During meetings, he would dominate conversations, mock other people's ideas, and shut down any criticism. When his company faced a failed project, Michael blamed his team for not understanding his brilliant strategy. But in reality, his arrogance prevented him from listening to his colleagues, leading to poor decision-making. His refusal to accept feedback and learn from others resulted in a toxic work environment where employees felt unheard. Repeated failures due to lack of collaboration. A damaged reputation as someone who was difficult to work with. Michael thought acting superior made him respected. In reality, it isolated him from his team and stunted his professional growth. Stoic philosophy teaches that true wisdom is found in humility and openness to learning. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This simple idea reminds us that learning comes from listening, not talking. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, warned against arrogance. "If anyone can refute me, show me I am making a mistake, I will gladly change. For it is the truth I seek." A wise person is not afraid of being wrong. Instead, they welcome challenges to their beliefs, knowing that correction leads to growth. If you recognize this trait in yourself, don't worry, change is possible. Here's how to cultivate humility and intellectual growth. Pause before responding. Before dismissing an idea, take a moment to consider it fully. Ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? What can I learn from this? Listen more, speak less. Practice active listening. Instead of waiting for your turn to speak, focus on understanding the other person's viewpoint. You don't have to agree, but you should at least try to understand. Be willing to say I don't know. Admitting you don't know everything doesn't make you weak, it makes you open to learning. People respect intellectual humility more than stubborn arrogance. Encourage constructive debate. Instead of seeing disagreements as battles to win, see them as opportunities to grow. Ask yourself, is my goal to be right, or to find the truth? Surround yourself with different perspectives. Seek out conversations with people who challenge your beliefs. Read books, listen to debates, and embrace diverse viewpoints. A fool insists they are always right, refusing to grow. A wise person values learning over being right, knowing that humility leads to true intelligence. So, the next time someone challenges your opinion, ask yourself, am I defending my ego or seeking the truth? Would I rather be seen as right, or actually be wise? Choose growth, openness, and self-awareness. That is the Stoic way. Sign number 5. Lack of self-control. Self-control is one of the defining traits of intelligence and wisdom. A person without it is like a ship without a rudder, easily swayed by impulses, external influences, and emotions. When someone lacks discipline, they make reckless decisions, struggle with bad habits, and often regret their actions later. In Stoicism, self-control is the foundation of inner strength and stability. Without it, a person is at the mercy of every desire, frustration, and fleeting emotion. A person who lacks self-control often acts on impulse instead of thinking things through. Struggles with addictions or bad habits, overeating, overspending, procrastination. Overreacts emotionally, allowing anger or sadness to dictate their actions. Fails to commit to long-term goals due to lack of discipline. Such people might blame external circumstances, but the real issue is their inability to govern themselves. Consider Jake, a talented but undisciplined professional. He repeatedly missed deadlines because he spent hours scrolling through social media. He lashed out at colleagues over minor disagreements, damaging his reputation. He spent his salary on impulse purchases, leaving him in financial trouble. His lack of self-control cost him opportunities, respect, and personal stability. He often felt regret, but instead of changing, he made excuses. A life without self-discipline is a life filled with chaos and frustration. Stoicism teaches that control over oneself is the ultimate power. Epictetus stated, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want, it comes from mastering your desires and emotions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." A Stoic doesn't let external events dictate their emotions. They train their minds to remain calm, rational, and in control. If you struggle with impulses, bad habits, or emotional reactions, you can change. Here's how to build self-discipline and regain control. Pause before acting. When you feel impulsive, take 5 deep breaths. Ask yourself, is this action in my best interest? Delaying gratification helps you make wiser choices. Train your willpower like a muscle. Set small, manageable self-discipline challenges. Wake up early, limit screen time, stick to a schedule. Willpower strengthens with practice. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Eliminate temptations. If you struggle with distractions, remove them, block apps, set time limits, create routines. If you overspend, use cash instead of cards. Create a personal code of conduct. Write down rules for yourself, what you will and won't do. Example, I will not argue when I'm angry, or I will work out every morning. Following a personal philosophy reinforces discipline. Accept discomfort as growth. Stoics believe discomfort is a test of character. Train yourself to tolerate challenges, cold showers, fasting, intense workouts. Each time you resist temptation, you strengthen your mental resilience. A weak person is controlled by impulses, emotions, and external influences. A strong person controls themselves, no matter what happens around them. Self-control earns respect, improves decision-making, and leads to true freedom. So ask yourself, are you in control of your actions? Or are your impulses in control of you? Choose discipline, self-mastery, and wisdom. That is the Stoic way. Sign number 6. Lack of empathy. Empathy is the bridge that connects us to one another. It allows us to understand others, communicate effectively, and build meaningful relationships. A person who lacks empathy is unable to step into someone else's shoes, making them indifferent to the emotions, struggles, and perspectives of others. This disconnect leads to shallow relationships, poor communication, and, in many cases, conflict. Lack of empathy is one of the clearest signs of ignorance, as it prevents genuine connection and emotional intelligence. A person who lacks empathy often ignores or downplays others' feelings, fails to recognize the impact of their words or actions, struggles to form deep, meaningful relationships, sees the world only from their own perspective. Without empathy, interactions lack depth and authenticity, leading to isolation, misunderstandings, and even resentment. Meet Paul, a project leader at a tech company. One of his team members, Susan, missed a deadline because her son was seriously ill. Instead of showing understanding, Paul criticized her in front of the entire team, saying, "Your personal issues aren't an excuse for missing work." A year later, Paul's mother fell seriously ill, and he had to take time off work. Only then did he realize how insensitive he had been. But by that time, the damage was done. His colleagues saw him as cold and untrustworthy, and his team lost respect for him. This is a common pattern for those who lack empathy. They don't understand the struggles of others until they experience the same hardship themselves. Stoicism teaches that true wisdom isn't just about knowledge, it's about understanding and connection. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." In other words, our ability to perceive and understand others directly impacts our own emotional well-being. Empathy isn't about weakness, it's about awareness. The Stoics believed that recognizing others' struggles allows us to act with wisdom, patience, and kindness. If you struggle with empathy, don't worry, it's a skill that can be developed. Here's how to cultivate a more compassionate mindset. Practice active listening. Instead of waiting for your turn to speak, truly listen to what others are saying. Ask questions like, "How does that make you feel?" or "What can I do to help?" The goal isn't to fix the problem, but to understand the experience. Put yourself in someone else's shoes. Before judging, ask yourself, how would I feel in their situation? What might they be going through? This simple shift creates more understanding and patience. Recognize that everyone has struggles. People don't always show their pain. Assume that everyone is dealing with battles you cannot see. This fosters kindness and patience. Respond with thoughtfulness. Before reacting, pause and think. Am I being too harsh? Am I considering their emotions? This small habit improves relationships and prevents unnecessary conflicts. Engage in face-to-face conversations. In today's digital world, real connections are becoming rare. Talking to people in person helps you read emotions, tone, and body language, enhancing empathy. A person who lacks empathy remains trapped in their own perspective, unable to connect, grow, or build meaningful relationships. A wise person, however, seeks to understand, support, and connect with those around them. So ask yourself, do you truly listen to others? Or do you dismiss emotions that don't align with your own? Choose awareness, compassion, and understanding. That is the Stoic way. Conclusion. After exploring the 6 signs of a foolish person, one thing becomes clear: true intelligence isn't about knowing everything, but about being open to growth, self-awareness, and control over one's actions. A closed mind traps a person in ignorance. Failing to learn from mistakes ensures repeated failure. Reacting emotionally instead of rationally leads to regret. Always believing you're right blocks new wisdom. Lacking self-control creates chaos in life. Lacking empathy isolates you from meaningful relationships. The Stoics believe that wisdom is a lifelong journey. No one is born wise. We must train our minds daily to think, respond, and evolve. So, the real question is, do you recognize any of these signs in yourself? If so, don't be discouraged. Awareness is the first step to change. By embracing humility, rationality, discipline, and emotional intelligence, you can move away from ignorance and towards true wisdom. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Your mind is your greatest asset. Use it wisely. Now, it's up to you. Which of these lessons will you apply today?